Good morning, everybody. Today's daf is daf Mem Hey. We are going to pick it up from 4 lines from the bottom of Mem Dalid Amud Beis Gufa Amar Rabin Bar Shmuel. So the Gemara begins with a Gemara that we've seen a few times over the last few days. And the Gemara says Gufa Amar Rabin Bar Shmuel Mishmei Shmuel Amochar Sada Lachaveru Shelo Ba'achrayis. So we'll explain what this is. Again, we've seen this before, but we'll explain with an example. I sell a piece of property to Mark Summer. Mark Summer wanted to get a good deal, and he forwent on the diligence period. So he was like, listen, I'll buy it, shelo ba'achrayis. I want to get this done. Let's do this quick. And he buys it without a achrayis. Eddie comes in a few months later and says, Mark, Eddie's not here. But Eddie comes in anyway, and he says, Mark, that wasn't never Levy's property. So I know you bought it from Levy, and we all thought Levy was a good guy, but the bottom line is it wasn't Levy's. So Eddie and Mark are now have this dispute. And the question is, can I, as in Levy Khan, can I be an aid in this case? Right? Now, why not? Because maybe I'm on Nogea Be'edus. Now, it's clear that when I sold my field to Mark, I did it with a achrayis, meaning if anyone takes his field away from Mark, I got to pay Mark. Obviously, I'm Nogea Be'edus because I have a lot to lose if Mark loses this case. But if I sold it to him shelo ba'achrayis, in theory, I would have nothing to lose. What do I care? Yet, Shmuel says, this memra, that I am a Nogea Be'edus. Why am I a Nogea Be'edus? Why am I a Nogea Be'edus, assuming I'm not going to lose anything? Because the question is, maybe Alan Gershman lent me money, right? And I'm good. Maybe Alan Gershman lent me money. And if it turns out that Mark loses this case, Alan Gershman's going to be out of luck. Because so long as Mark Summer has my property, bought it from me, when Alan Gershman comes to me to collect his loan, and I don't have any money, Alan Gershman can collect the loan from the property that I sold to Mark. But if it turns out that it was Eddie's property the whole time, Alan Gershman is out of luck. And therefore, I am a Nogea B'davar. So again, we'll read it inside. When I sell my field to Mark, shelo ba'achrayis, ein made lo aleh, I cannot help defend this property. Because if Mark loses this case, Alan Gershman is going to be up a creek, and that's a problem for me. So the verse says, well, hold up. If I, as a Levi Khan, if I have other properties for Alan Gershman to collect from, so Aled Didi Hazar. So then again, why am I Nogea Be'edus here? The bottom line is Alan Gershman, if I owe him money, will collect from somewhere else. I need to let La'arachriti, and if I don't have any other property, so my nafkalamina, like, okay, fine. So Alan Gershman's gonna be up a creek. Again, bottom line for me, I'm all the same. Whether Eddie wins this case, whether Mark Summer wins this case, what does it matter to me? Right? Why am I a Nogea Be'edus? The Gemara says, I'm not going to owe the money to you because I sold to you shelo ba'achrayis. I'm going to owe the money to Alan, I guess, but I'm not going to have the money. But why? If I win this case for you, Alan takes the property. If you lose this case with Eddie, so then you keep, or Eddie keeps the property. I'm the same. I have nothing. So the question is, can I intervene on your case to take the property from, I guess, Eddie to Alan? But I'm the same. Alan.
But now you don't. Because you don't have the money to pay.
Exactly. I don't have the money to pay. What? But I wasn't going to have the money regardless. I already sold my field to you, and I gambled that money away. So I have nothing. So the question is, in this case between you and Eddie, if you win the case, Alan's going to take it. If you lose the case, well, Alan's just up the creek, and Eddie's got this field, and you're also really annoyed with me. So everyone's annoyed with me. Everyone's going to be annoyed with me. That we're going to know. But the question is, again, so why, in theory, you should say I shouldn't be Nogea Be'edus, because like I have nothing to benefit from any of this. But the Gemara says I do have something to benefit from it. La'olam delesle arachriti. Really, I don't have any more money. Yet, it's important for me that I do a solid for Alan Gershman. Why? The Amr lo nichali. We know there's a pasuk in Tehillim that says you never really want to be the person that doesn't pay back your creditors, right? If the reality is Alan Gershman lent me money, I don't want him to be up a creek. I would prefer that you, in this case with Eddie, you prove that it was really my property all along, even though I'm not going to get it. Alan is going to take it from you because I owed Alan money, but I want to pay back Alan for the favor that he did to me to lend me the money. But the Gemara says that's ridiculous. So clearly, if I'm the baldover, if I'm the one being sued, then obviously I can defend. The question is, I'm not the baldover here. Yeah. Well, Shalom Christ, exactly.
So therefore, you can't be in jail.
We're hardcore Choshen Mishpah right now. I don't know. It's clearly I'm a bad dude. I will not get into Leon Shabbos. That you settled. But the question is, but the Gemara says, right? Fine, wonderful. I took care of Alan Gershman. But what about Mark? Mark paid me money for a field, right? So why is it any better? Here it's like, oh, I'm a Nogei V'davar because I don't want to have a bad reputation in town. I don't want to be a love of Russia of Lo Yishalim. But the bottom line is, I'm going to be a love of Russia of Lo Yishalim to somebody, whether it's Alan or whether it's Mark. Clearly, I messed someone up. But the Gemara says that who the Amr Lahachizvina Lachshlo B'Chrais. I don't feel as bad for Mark because the bottom line is Mark wanted a good deal on my property. Mark, he's an adult and he went without the diligence period. And he didn't do a title search and he just went into this transaction without seeing. By the way, it's not muchas that I'm like a bad person that I stole something from Eddie. Very possible I had a property. I'm a flipper. I bought the property from someone else, sold it to Mark, and I never bothered to go through the title search. And Mark he never did the title search. And turns out that Eddie, owned the property, whatever it is. But the point is, I feel much worse for Alan, being that Alan lent me money, so I need to make sure that he gets paid back. I don't feel as bad for someone like Mark, who tried to hop a good deal, and he didn't do his diligence. And all right, so he wins some, you lose some, and this one he lost. Okay. What? Machar is Rava, Be'esma Rapapa. Rava made the following announcement. Some say it was Rapapa, and it's a lot of drama here, right? The Salkin Le'ela, Nachlin Latasa. He made this announcement for all the people that are in Bubble, that are going up to Eretz Yisrael, and all the people that are in Eretz Yisrael that are coming down to Bubble. What's this announcement? Hi, Bar Yisrael. The Zavan Lechamer Yisrael Chabre. You have a Jewish person, and he sold his donkey to his Jewish friend. And comes along a guy, and a guy forcefully takes it. Dinahu demaftile mine. The halacha is that seller number one, the Jewish seller, right? He has to help Jewish buyer in his court case with this guy. And as we're going to see in a second, the Rasham speaks this out, that we're not talking about necessarily some bad Gaish person. The Gaish person is coming with some sort of legitimate claim. He's saying, listen, this Chamar really belonged to me, right? If the guy just straight up, we'll see in the Gemara. But the point is, the Rasham speaks out, why are we dealing with a guy specifically? Why not a Jew? So the Rasham says, if a Jew comes along and just takes your chamar, you can take the Jew to Bezdin and say, listen, clearly I was the Marakama. I bought this chamar. This other guy comes, he has a claim. Let's settle this in Bezdin. But the guy is not going to come with you to Bezdin. And the guy has the thing now, and someone's got to, go to court. So Jewish buyer can say to Jewish seller, listen, you might have better rayas. I need you to come help me out in this case. And that's the hemshech between the last case and this case. In the last case, we said it's not so clear that the original owner can come as an aid. He might be an Ogeba aid or something like that. But when it comes to this case of a Jewish buyer, Jewish seller, non-Jewish guy who hops up the chamar, so maybe there is a responsibility on the seller to come help him out. The Gemara says below Amran Elash Enu Makir Bashibas Chamor. This is only going to be true if Jewish buyer doesn't necessarily know for sure that the chamar belongs to the seller, meaning it's possible that this guy's got a case over here. But Abu Makir Bashibas Chamoro, well, let's say I know for sure, I'm his neighbor. I know this guy's had this chamar for 10 years. I know the guy is just being a bad guy. So then already, the seller can say, like, listen, I'm really sorry, but you're living in a bad neighborhood. But the bottom line is, this is your problem. This has nothing to do with me. Some guy just came and mugged you and took the chamar. You got to take him to court and do the best you can. Below Amran, Ella, below honestly today, Ula Ukba. Honestly, Ula Ukba, lo, same idea. This is only going to be true if the guy comes and he takes the chamar, but he leaves you with the saddle, meaning it's your saddle. The guy's not trying to be a bad guy. The guy is just saying, this is my chamar, you can keep your saddle, right? But the guy comes and he takes your chamor and the saddle, then you know that the guy's not being a good guy. I mean, clearly the saddle belonged to me. Like imagine in a nowadays case, we're dealing with a car, right? So it's one thing if the guy says, by the way, you should know the car that you bought really belongs to me. So I'm going to take the car. I'll leave you your car seats and I'll leave you your golf clubs, but I'm taking the car, right? But if the guy just says, I'm taking the car, and he takes your car seats and he takes your golf clubs, so the guy's just a bad guy, right? So again, what's the seller going to help? You just got to fight with this guy, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Amar totally disagrees, and he says, Afilu kol hani, afilu leka kol hani lo. And he says, no. The seller never has to help you with a situation like this where a guy just kind of mugs my time up. This is the we're amongst friends. This is the not so politically correct portion of the daf. Made a yard that is time obey kachavim anasu. Because the bottom line is he's a guy, right? And Goyim have a reputation. Shenamar, it's pasuk says in Tehillim, Asher PM, Dibar Shav, Yiminam, Yimin Sheker. So again, guys are guys. So if someone ever comes and he mugs you and he steals your stuff, right? The seller doesn't have any obligation to really help you out. Okay. So again, a bit of maybe a machlok between a Meimar, Rava, maybe a Abaya, and exactly what the seller's responsibilities would be towards a buyer if a guy takes the thing. All right, new sugya. The Mishnah said, this is the Mishnah on Mem Beis Amud Aleph towards the bottom. So we had a number of examples of people who cannot establish a chazak. Right? We said there was an uman and an apotropos, and we pointed out when we did the Mishnah on Mem Beis Amud Aleph that one of the four categories didn't quite belong. One of them was an uman. Uman we said doesn't have a chazaka. Uman is not dealing with an uman is like an artisan, right? So the example that we'll give throughout the daf, the Gemara is going to give this example. We'll deal with a dry cleaner, right? But the point is, normally, if I'm dealing with Yigal and there's a bike, and Yigal says, "Why do you have my bike?" I can say, "Your bike, it's my bike," right? And the raya is, it's in my property. Why would your bike be in my property? So I don't need 3 years. I'm a mukhtar. If I'm a mukhtar, I have an upper hand. But the Mishnah said that when you're an ummah, you don't necessarily have an upper hand, right? If I happen to be a person, I'm a bike shop, and Yigal says, "What's my bike doing in your shop?" I can't say, "What do you mean? It's in my shop." Of course it's mine. No, it's in your shop because you're a bike repair shop, right? So that was the point of the Mishnah. Now, one thing is clear, we should speak up before we get started, is if Yigal says to me, "What's my bike doing in your property?" and we don't see the bike, Yigal saying, "By the way, I think you have my bike," and I say, "Yigal, I don't know what you're talking about." So of course, even if I'm an uman, I'm going to have the upper hand. If I say Lo Yidvar Me'olam, then Yigal, you got to hang on to your ticket, right? But assuming Yigal sees the bike and he says, "What is my bike doing in your house?" If I'm a bike repair shop, I can't necessarily say, "What do you mean it's in my house?" Of course it's mine. Obviously, that's the Mishnah. Uman ein lo chazak. Okay. Stating that Rabbah is going to say an incredible chiddush, which is going to be the entire rest of the daf. Amar Rabbah lo shanu, right? This halacha in our Mishnah that an uman ein lo chazaka ela shemasar lo be'edin. The only time we say that an uman doesn't have a chazaka is where someone came and brought it be'edin. Aval masar lo shelo be'edin. But if you brought it without Edin, like we just spoke out, because the Uman can always say, "I don't even know what you're talking about." So let's speak this. This is a major chiddush. Let's speak this out. And again, we're going to use the example of a dry cleaner. Imagine you come and you bring your suit to a dry cleaner, a very expensive suit. And now you come to pick up the suit from the dry cleaning. The guy says, the woman perhaps, she says, "Do you have a ticket?" I don't have a ticket. I never keep my ticket, but I have my phone number, So she says, now again, does she have a right to say, "Oh, that suit? No, it's my suit. You sold it to me." You say, normally a person might have a right to say that, but a dry cleaner doesn't have a right to say that, right? There's 500 suits there, and you're a dry cleaner, right? Mm-hmm. So if the suit is there. Now, let's say the suit is not there, meaning you don't see the suit. So then again, she could say, "I don't know what you're talking about." But what if you see the suit? That's what we spoke out. So she doesn't necessarily, the Mishnah says, you don't have a chazaka, but Rabbah has a major chiddush. That's only going to be true if the person came without Edin. Sorry, it's only going to be true that the woman doesn't have a chazaka if the person dropped off his suit with Edin. If the person drops off his suit with Edin, now the woman doesn't have a chazaka. But if the person comes in without Edin, right? Like all of us drop off our dry cleaners, right? Without Edin, right? The dry cleaner has the ability to say, "I don't know what you're talking about," right? I have a chazaka. I'm like anybody else. And really critical to point this out. What? So we're about to say. So look at in the Rashbam, these very long Rashbams over here. Aval masar lo shelo be'edin. So look about 8 lines from the bottom. You see the words Ela afilu imra'u towards the end of the line? 8 lines from the bottom, I think. So the Rashbam says, this is not only if you don't see the suit. Ela afilu imra'u achtav eidim atalas biada uman. Even if right now you're in the dry cleaners and you see your suit and you're saying, hey, that's my suit, right? Because the dry cleaner can still say lo hayit dvar me'olam. Now, you literally can't say lo hayit dvar me'olam, but what does that mean? Shalom asarta li aval achar masru li shemacharta lo v'hu machar li. Meaning the dry cleaner can always say, oh, why is that suit in my dry cleaner shop? Because you just sold your suit to someone else, and that guy sold the suit to me, and that's why the suit's right here. So the point is, you can go to the dry cleaner, you can see your suit, right? And unless you gave him the suit with Aiden, the dry cleaner has the upper hand. He can say no, right? So when our Mishnah says that an uman eno chazaka, that's dafka a case where you gave the uman the suit with Aiden, which is again an incredible kiddush, and not the way we would learn the Mishnah if we were just learning the Mishnah. Okay. So Amarle Abaya, so Abaya says, I don't even understand that. Then even if you did give it to him with Aiden, why shouldn't the dry cleaner still have the upper hand? Why can the dry cleaner say, sure, you gave it to me with Aiden, but I gave it back to you, and then you sold it to me. So the fact that the suit's right here, that shouldn't help. What do we care, right? Why is it any better? Once you're going down this path, why is it any better that he gave it to me with Aiden? So Amarle Lekucha he biyadi mehemin. So Amarle Rabba said back, no, me savras hamafkid eitzel chavera be'edim eino tzarich lahachshelo be'edim lo salkadaitach ela hamafkid eitzel chavera be'edim tzarich lahachshelo be'edim. Rabba said, no. If you came to the dry cleaner with Adim, it would fundamentally change the entire case. Why? Because once you give something to the dry cleaner with Adim, he has to return it himself with Adim. Again, it's a major. Imagine this dry cleaner's just got to have Adim all day long, right? Documenting that he's giving the suits back. What's the point? Rob is saying, so long as you gave the dry cleaner the suit with Adim, he no longer can say lo hayit dvar me'olam. Obviously, you can't say you never gave it to me because I have Adim. That's say you gave it to me, and I can't even say the claim that I wanted to say on Amud Aleph. I can't say that I gave it back to you and then you give it back to me, because the halacha is that if the person gives you the suit with Adim, you have to give it back with Aiden. And if you didn't give it back with Aiden, you automatically lose.
It's specific that that's your suit to those Aiden. Otherwise,
yeah,
you can claim, oh, I have some suit that is more expensive than what you get.
Yeah.
The Aiden is crucial to
the
suit you brought.
The critical point here is keep your ticket. That's the bottom line.
He has no hazak.
Yeah. But again, so Rabba said back to Abaya, no. It's dafka if you have Adim. So again, Abaya's question was, what does it help if you have Adim? Even if you have Adim, can't the guy just claim I give it back to you? And Rabba says no, because the halacha is that if I give you something with Adim, you have to give it back to me with Adim. So long as I gave it to you with Adim, now the dry cleaner has no claim. You can't say lo hayit dvar me'olam because I have Adim that say I gave it to you, and you can't say you gave it back to me because you would have had to give it back to me with Adim. So therefore, again, but what's the major chiddush that we're going to keep coming back to is our Mishnah that says an uman elo chazaka, that's dafka if the person gave it to the uman with Adim. If he didn't give it to the uman with Adim, he does have a chazaka. The uman has a chazaka, and it doesn't matter if we know that I see the bike, if I see the suit, it doesn't matter. So Abaya asks a kasha from a brisa or at the end of Baba Basra. Ra avdo biad uman. Let's say a person, you see the eved biad an uman. It's funny, Rosh Hashanah, what is my eved doing by an uman? So I want to train my eved, right? I own this eved, right? And I'm like, you know what? Let me make some passive income. I'll teach my eved a trade. So I send him to the uman to learn how to whatever the uman does. Or Vitalisa biad kobe is literally our example, right? I see my talis at the dry cleaner. I see my suit at the dry cleaner. And Omer lo, I say to the dry cleaner, right? What's my eved doing by you? And he says, Amar le, he says back, he says, what do you mean? You gave it to me, you sold it to me. Lo Amar Klum. Really the halacha of our Mishnah, right? He doesn't have a chazak. Now what if he says, B'fanai Amar Talo Lamafro, or Lanashlu Lim Matana Tvarkem? Let's say the dry cleaner says, no, in front of this third guy, you sold it to me, or you told this third guy to be as like an agent for you, a shliach, told him to sell it to me or to give it to me Matana. Now he would be believed. Before we even get to the question, the Gemara says, like, what even is the second case? Right? Who's the third person? Maishna, Reishna, Maishna, Seifa. What's going on over here? Amar Rabba. Fascinating. I think the Rashbam at the year Amar Rabba, but either way, Amar Rabba or Rabba, Seifa, the Seifa is a totally different case. It's Biyotzi Mitachas de Acher. The case is talking about where Reuven and Shimon are fighting. Neither one of them are a dry cleaner, right? Neither one of them are Uman. Reuven and Shimon are fighting. Reuven is saying to Shimon, what's this thing doing in your property? And Shimon is saying, no, you told, your shoe was at the dry cleaners, you told the dry cleaner to sell me or to give me as a matana your suit. So again, this is a fight between Reuven and Shimon who are not dry cleaners. But Shimon is saying, why do I have your suit? Because you told the dry cleaner to give it to me. Gave it to the dry cleaner and gave it to me. So the Gemara says, in that case, Shimon would be believed. The same way Shimon could have easily said, what do you mean, what's your thing doing in my property? You gave it to me. Reuven and Shimon, they're not umans. It's just he has a chazaka. He always is believed. He's the muchlik right now. So the same way he's believed to say, I'm the muchlik, he's also believed to say, I have it because in convoluted case, he told the dry cleaner to give it to me. So but that's not what we needed. What we really needed was the first part of this brisa. And the first part of the brisa said, Ra abdo biad uman, or again, Ra taliso biad kobas. If you see the talis by the dry cleaner, who wins? It's the balabayas, not the dry cleaner, right? Lo amar klum. So the Gemara says, Kani miyat reisha, right? What was this case? Ra. The Gemara says the case is where the item was seen. We spent a lot of time talking. This is why we spoke this all out on Amud Aleph, right? The point is, if you see the item at the dry cleaner, so you go to the dry cleaner, you see the suit, and you say, that's my suit. What's my suit doing by you? And the dry cleaner says, what do you mean? You sold it to me? Lo amar klum. So Abaye says to Rabba, hey chidami, what's this case over there? If we have Adim that were with me when I gave you the suit, so lama li ra. Again, as we spoke out very much, why do I need to see it now? If I gave it to you with Adim, then by definition I should have the upper hand, because you can't say lo hayz bar me'olam because I have Adim, and you can't say you gave it back to me because Rabba, you were the one that said that when I give it to you with Adim to the dry cleaner has to give it back with Adim. So why should I have to see the suit now? Even if I don't see the suit now, I should have the upper hand, right? Naisi Adim and Ishkal Elalab. You're going to have to say the case was that I brought it to you without Adim. And v'chira miyatafisle. And so long as I see the suit right now, I have the upper hand, which is connected how we spoke out, how the Rishbam spoke out, Rabba's way of understanding the world. Because Rabba said very clearly on Amud Aleph that if I come to the dry cleaners without my Adim, then the dry cleaners has a chazaka, even if I see the suit. Because the dry cleaner can always claim some convoluted case of you sold it to someone and that person gave it to me. So the fact that I see the suit's not even a raya. So this Bryce and Baba Matzia is making a big point of the fact that I'm seeing the suit right now, and that's why the Balabais has the upper hand. According to you, Rabba, you shouldn't even need Ra. As long as there wasn't Adim, and it's obvious there wasn't Adim, right? Because if there was Adim, then this whole thing would be obvious. It's obvious there wasn't Adim, and still we see that it's Dafka Ra. That's the case where the Balabais wins. But if not, he wouldn't win. So Olam, the Gemara says, no, the Ika Adim. Really, I'll tell you the case is the Ika Adim. And Behudara, that even though there was Adim, you still need to see the suit in order to win. But the Gemara says, what? This goes connected everything we said on Amud Aleph. Why? You were the one, Rabba, who said that if I give the dry cleaner something with Adim, the dry cleaner has to give it back to me with Adim. So if that's the case, and I gave it to the dry cleaner with Adim, why do I need to see the talis in his possession right now? I shouldn't even need that. So he says, Amrle Hajibi, good point. I was hosed there, and I now agree with you that even if you give it to him with Adim, the only way the Mishnah's case of Uman Eno Chazaka, we kind of need two things. On the one hand, we need that you gave it to him with Adim, and you need to have a raya that the thing is there right now. Because if not, Rabba was hoser on the halacha that he said before, which is even if I bring a suit to the dry cleaners with Adim, the dry cleaners doesn't necessarily have to give it back to me with Adim, and therefore, unless I see it at the dry cleaner right now, the dry cleaner can say, "I gave it back to you." Why? I gave it back to you. I don't have it anymore. I don't know, but it could be. He sees it in the window. I don't know.
Otherwise, I mean, you wouldn't ask the question, case down with fun, you wouldn't ask the question. He comes in and say, no, that's my suit. Let's see, do that, you ordered it.
Maybe he did. I mean, maybe he came in and he said, I'm missing a suit. And what's the first place to look is the dry cleaner. And so, oh my God, look at that, my suit. And the guy says, told me your suit. What are you talking about? Something like that. I don't know. But again, what's this machlokas Abaya and Rabba? The case is our mission that says Uman ein lo chazaka. Abaya says that's any regular case of Uman. Rabba says it's dafka a case where you came with Adim. If you didn't come with Adim, then the Uman would have a chazaka like anybody else. So Masiv Rava l'siyuya l'Rabba. Rava comes to ask a question on Abaya to support Rava. And it's again, I think it's the same brisa in the end of Baba Mitzvah. Hanos in taliso l'uman. Let's say you give your talis to an uman to do some tailoring or whatever it is. And uman omer shtein katzatzli. And uman says we agreed on a price of 2. V'alo omer lo katzatzli alachas. No, we agreed to a price of 1. We had a little bit of a dispute. How much is the guy allowed to charge? So the Gemara says like this. The price is like this. Calls matcha talis biat uman. So long as the talis is by the uman, al balabayis lahavi rai. So he kind of has the upper hand. It's fascinating because on the one hand, the balabayis is muhsik on the money, and the uman is the muhsik on the talis. But for whatever reason, the uman is has the upper hand. Natsulo, let's say the uman gave back the talis, so now it shifts a little bit, right? Because now he's not a muhsik anymore. So bismano, let's say on the day that he gives it back, he's being tovei the money. So nishba vinota. Still, the uman has a bit of an upper hand. He can swear and then take back the amount. But avers mano, but if it's already the next day or whatever this man is, now already the balabayas has the upper hand. So the Gemara says, okay, what's going on here? If we have Adim that were there when they entered into this arrangement, so let's see Adim, track down these Adim and figure out what he owes, right? Elala, you're gonna have to tell me the Leka Adim, right? There aren't any Adim that saw when the guy gave the talis to the Uman. But still, what does the first part of the price to say? The Uman seems to have the upper hand, even though there were an Adim, which implies that an Uman has a chazaka, right? Funny Uman Mehemen. Mihudi by Amarle, Lakufe biyadi, Mehemen Nami, Agre. And it must be that the Uman has a chazaka. What do you mean? Our Mishnah said Uman doesn't have a chazaka. It must be that Rab is right. The Mishnah only says the Uman doesn't have a chazaka when you give it to them with Adim. But if you didn't give it to them with Adim, the Uman's just like anybody else. And that's why the Uman has the upper hand over here, so long as he still has the talis. Abaya says, no, it's not mukach that way. The olam, the laka Adim. Really, I'll tell you, there's no Adim. Who, the low ra. And the bottom line is right now, so again, why does he have the upper hand? Uman eno chazaka. Because right now, no one sees the talis. So you walk to the guy and you say, can I please have my talis back? I guess I don't know what you're talking about. Right? Migu, I always say lo yidvar mil. No one sees the talis here. So believe me when I say that I do have your talis, but we agree to, $10 instead of 5, or whatever the numbers are. That's a good migu, and everyone agrees to that. Everyone agrees that if you don't see the talis, right? So then already you should say lo yidvar miolam, right? Okay. Last one. This is really the knockout punch. Masdiv Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. He says this is going to be support to Abai. He says we got very, very complicated unnecessarily, right? Just read the words of the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? Uman elo chazaka. An uman, the dry cleaner, doesn't have a chazaka. What's the implication? Uman hu elo chazaka. Stop with the uman doesn't have a chazaka. Ha'achar yesh lo chazaka. Any regular person has a chazaka. So what's going on here? Edim. If we have Adim that saw Reuven give it to Shimon, so achar ma yesh lo chazaka. Then even a regular case of Shimon, why would Shimon have a chazaka? We have Adim that say that Reuven gave it to Shimon for whatever reason, so Shimon can't say, smile, what do you mean? We have Adim that saw Reuven give it to Shimon, right? So nobody should have a chazaka if you have Adim, right? Elalav, like Adim, you're going to have to say that the regular case of the Mishnah is where there weren't Adim, and that's why the achar has the chazaka. Uktani, uman eno chazaka, tiyufta, deraba, tiyufta. So it's a mafurish araya, really a mashmos in the Mishnah that obviously we're talking about a case that doesn't have Adim, and yet Uman doesn't have a chazaka. Dafka the Uman doesn't have a chazaka. The regular person has a chazaka. Dafka the Uman doesn't have a chazaka.